Hello, and welcome to another episode of Is There More? I am your host, Megan Tully, the artists that are signing on for some mental health and filmmaking conversations today. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to love them. We got Andy Compton, who graduated college after being a high school dropout for 10 years, overcame addiction to alcohol, and the whole world opened up to him, and who would love for theatrical DVD and Blu-ray to make a strong return, but he knows that probably won't happen. And he is the writer and director of short film Phantasmic, a Sliff official selection. And we have Jackie Kelly, an actor, writer, and lover of subversive cinema and literature, who won Best Acting Performance at the St. Louis Filmmakers Showcase for the short film Phantasmic. How was that intro?
That was great. That was fantastic. I'm always so awkward during those. I was like looking away, and then I was like, no, stay locked in.
So can you tell me about the title? Like, how did you come across that word? Because that word is fantastic.
Yeah, it's funny, I've had regrets about this title, but once it's going, it's done, and you just got to be like, all right, that's it. But like, I had a couple titles I had gone through. One of them was called Manifest, because she's obviously manifesting this terror into her life, But something I do when I'm naming films is I do a quick YouTube search or Vimeo search of that title. And I saw 400 short films called Manifest, and I was like, okay, what's something that'll stand out a little more in search results, And Phantasmic is like, oh my gosh, the definition, I can pull it up in just 2 seconds, but it's not to be confused with the classic horror film Phantasm, which most people know. So Phantasmic means something is unreal, illusory, or spectral, or of the nature of a phantasm. And I kind of just thought that's, in line with what she's experiencing. And it's also a pretty original title. Like I said, a very famous movie is 2 letters shorter than this one. But, It was better than naming it Manifest or a few of the other titles that I had that were just kind of, that path had been treaded on. I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say.
No.
But it was just too many titles like that.
Okay, so let me see if I got it. So basically, too many titles like Manifest, which was your first title, and I think it's great. It's great advice to Google search, YouTube search titles like that to see, like, is yours going to have a lot of competition or what? But Phantasmic basically means something illusory, like of the mind, but not real, kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I really took from it. The first adjective it says in the definition is unreal or illusory. And that's what I took, because I mean, she is, these are hallucinations. And like, so, to jump ahead a tiny bit, the way that I came to that title was that, I've suffered from anxiety for a long time, and, I've tried medicine and all these things, and those can get kind of weird too. But also, so if you are suffering from anxiety and you're on medicine and you cold turkey quit that medicine, I was reading about like the possible side effects of that. And it was so much as like visual and auditory hallucinations. And I was like, oh my God, what an absolute nightmare that would be. And that's really where the concept for this film came from, was like, what if a woman was forced to quit her medicine all of a sudden and suffered like a trippy, hallucinatory nightmare type experience.
Oh, wow. Okay, I love that. You suffered from anxiety yourself. You tried medication, and you didn't have hallucinations yourself. I can guess.
No,
it was what if? What if?
It was what if. Yeah, when I stopped using medication, which it just wasn't for me. I'm a proponent of people using medication if they need it, for sure, if it helps. For me, I don't know, it was making me a little cloudy, and I just didn't like the way I was feeling, so I weaned myself off. But yeah, if you go cold turkey, it can be pretty insane, apparently.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
As a writer, director, do you always channel your mental health struggles somehow into your work, or is this something new you've kind of started?
In a way, I feel like there's definitely pieces of me in all of my stuff, but I made a short film before this one called Captcha, which is just 2 dummies in a loft, and they're just one of them is afraid that the other one is a robot. And there's nothing real for my life in that whatsoever. The whole concept, I just pitched it to some friends, and I was like, yeah, I have a thing about like 2 guys trying to solve a CAPTCHA, but they just can't solve it for whatever reason, and they just start losing their minds, and it becomes this like absolute crazy, trippy thing. And they were like, yeah, that sounds cool. And I was like, all right. And I went home and I wrote CAPTCHA, which ended up being very different from my initial idea. But like that one doesn't have any of me in it. But, I have some feature work that most of my feature work is more in like the dramedy space, like, comedies with, some real life stuff in there. And those ones definitely have a lot of my life in them. I feel like in the short form, it's like, you only have so much time to get a story done, so it's a lot harder. It's more concept based, I feel like, whereas my feature work is very like theme based.
Got you. And I did see CAPTCHA too, and good that has nothing to do with your real life.
Yeah, that's never happened to me.
Yeah.
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 Jackie, were you in that one too?
I
No,
wish. I love CAPTCHA.
Yeah.
I've been familiar with Andy for several years before we actually met, and I think when I saw CAPTCHA, I don't know if we'd actually met in person yet. I
I
don't
can't
think we
remember.
had, and I honestly, it's one of my favorite short films because I think it does exactly what shorts do: is get to a punchline and get out.
Yeah.
I think a lot
Yeah.
of short films are like really, really nebulous, and they try to do too much in too little time. And CAPTCHA does
100%
wonderful
agree.
thing where it just like gets to the joke and then roll credits. I think it's really funny.
Yeah, thank you.
That's really good advice too, to like just get to the punchline and then get out. Like start, what do they say? Start late, end early kind of thing. In most
Yep.
scene. That's great advice. Speaking of that, do you guys have any advice on like, the writing? Because Jackie, you're also a writer too, right?
Yes, I am.
And
Okay.
director. She just directed her first feature that she
Oh,
also starred in and wrote. Yeah.
no way. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Mhm.
Tell me a little bit about that while we're here.
So it's a feature length film called Hag, which is it's kind of a woman spiraling into insanity film about a an escort that is terrified of aging, essentially.
I
We
love that.
we just wrapped it at the end of October, so it's still very fresh, very new. We're in the post-production process right now, but
Congratulations. That's
Yeah.
huge.
yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, in many ways. So, okay. So, Jackie, let's do one for you. So, your performance was obviously a woman having a panic attack, and it was super believable and also just very well done.
Thank you.
How did you prepare for such an intense role? Even though it was just a short film, it was very intense to me. So, how did you prepare? If you have anything you want to share on that?
Man, I wish I had some like wonderful advice for people, but I don't.
Mhm.
Pretty much not all of it, but the majority of the acting work I do is very psychological, very dark kind of work. That's just my preference, and I think it's what I'm best at. Um, it's probably not the healthiest thing to do, but in order to get into that headspace, I do have to put myself into it and just find the bridge between myself and that character. What is like a trauma that I have that might somehow reciprocate the emotion of the character. So I just kind of have to think about really bad stuff leading up to a very intense scene. But I guess because I've been doing this kind of performance for a long time now, I've gotten pretty good at getting out of that space pretty quickly. I mean, Andy, I'm sure you can recognize that when you're on set with me, is I can kind of snap out of it pretty quickly. It doesn't like drain my vibes or anything, which I'm thankful for because I know a lot of actors struggle with that. And I maybe by luck have just never really had that problem where I've had to like live there for a long time before and after the performance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like by the time we were eating lunch, like Jackie was just back being Jackie and just messing around and laughing and stuff. But one thing that was really crazy working with you that I really like enjoyed and I think I'll remember forever was I mean, Jackie gets so locked in to the performance, because when we're still doing take after take, she can't just leave, leave that state. So like it was the first time I'd ever worked with an actor who did something like this. But when we were doing the car scene towards the end of the movie, that's like really, really intense, and there's a lot going on, and Jackie's like in the most heightened state she's been in probably the whole movie. Um, I would be, I'd call action, we'd do a take, she's, like freaking out, having this big moment, and then I'd call cut, and I'd go to give her notes, and you would like stay in that mode though, but you would still be having a conversation with me. So you'd be like, you just want me to open the door like this? And I'd be like, yeah. I was taken aback, like, cause you were like fucking in the zone. I was like, yeah, just open it like that and sit in. You're like, and then sit down. Okay. And I was like, all right, action. And you would fucking go. And it was so amazing. I'm sorry if I shouldn't swear on the pod.
Oh no, you can swear on the
It doesn't matter. Okay, sorry, it slips sometimes. But yeah, no, that was like such a cool experience for me. And I was just like, I remember walking away like, God, that was just cool to witness. Not even like directing. That was just cool to see.
See, I think I just get into a headspace. I'm not even aware of myself doing that. That's funny that you say that, because I don't recall that, but that sounds right.
It totally works. I mean, it was amazing. And I see that too as an actor. I mean, you kind of have to be lost in the moment and not conscious of yourself.
Yeah.
Super cool. A good thing, Andy, you weren't like, Jackie, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, no. I was supporting the crazy. I was like, keep it coming.
Okay, so Jackie, you can get in and out of your characters and your emotional states pretty easily. You find something in your own life that has similar trauma response, and you find that as the bridge to get into the character. But you're lucky because you don't really struggle so much with the not being able to snap out of it. And Andy can attest to that. And except for when you're in it, you're in it.
When I'm in it, I'm in it. Yeah.
When you're in it, you're in it. And then you have a pretty easy time getting out. I was also going to ask you, Jackie, do you have any like literal physical like mechanism you do to help you get in and out? Because you're right, people do struggle with that. I do struggle with that too.
Yeah.
And
sorry,
yeah,
go ahead. And
no, I've just been taught, so many different rituals or different things, and those little rituals sometimes do help. Like somebody once was like, unzip the character and like take it off, like just little things like that. But is there any tips you have for anyone?
For me, and this is specific to doing a very heightened performance like I did in Phantasmic. I firmly believe in like elevating my heart rate before doing something like that. So I find just physical movement to be really helpful. Sometimes I'll like do like jump roping motions or jumping jacks or something, anything to like make it so I can like, and normally my heart rate's elevated in that situation even before the physical movement, just because I get like an adrenaline rush before I do something like that. But just, yeah, I like to feel my heart beating, to be conscious of it. It just kind of, especially in something like Phantasmic, because it does center around anxiety so much. It kind of replicates that feeling of having an anxiety attack, which I find helpful.
Are you guys aware of that there's like a youth mental health crisis right now? And does that have anything to do with why you're creating mental health driven work?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, and I think that there's probably been a youth mental health crisis even when we were growing up and no one was talking about it. I was just talking the other day with someone about like, how LGBT people are just a lot more accepted, I feel like, in like middle schools, high schools, and it really wasn't like that when I was in high school. I knew a couple of gay kids who weren't telling anyone that they were gay. The girl I was dating's best friend was gay and no one knew, and they told me the secret. But yeah, I've thought about that ever since, as I get older. I've thought about that specific kid and just how hard that must have been. But yeah, I think it's always been around. I didn't make this film specifically for that. I'm selfish. I made this for me. But no, like I do think one of the cool things about writing and filmmaking is that, because I've had this with a few scripts I've written that I've shared with people, and you get feedback back in return that's like, oh my gosh, this moment spoke to me so much because I feel this way and I don't really talk about it much. And when we dropped Phantasmic, there was a lot of comments. The best reviews I get, I feel like, are people who have had similar experiences who are like, oh my God, I felt seen by this, because I can name 100 movies that made me feel seen in a way that I didn't really talk about that issue that I have or that feeling that I have. And it's just so cool to have that confirmed by someone and kind of feel, accepted or normal, whatever you want to call it. And so no, I didn't write it specifically, to advocate for like anxiety awareness or anything. I do think that's a cool byproduct of making this movie, but no, I really wrote it just because I was, at the time especially, I was very stressed out. I feel like I'm always running on stress, and I'm always trying to figure out ways to curb that, because I know I'm going to drop dead at 50 if I don't. And so like literally in the last year, I've like gotten high blood pressure and stuff. I had to start taking medicine for it. So, and I think that's all directly related to like my own anxiety issues and stress issues. But yeah, so when it came time to write this, I was going through a particularly stressful time of just like, and nothing crazy, just like work and, everyday stuff. And that's really where this came from, was like, what if I made an anxiety movie that is like a monster in the house type movie, but it's all just everyday shit. Like literally it's that text from your mom, like, why haven't I talked to you in this long? And it's, text from your boss. And there's a little work from home reference in there of towards the end when her boss literally breaks into her home. And that's something that a lot of people were experiencing at the time as well, myself included. Following the pandemic or in the pandemic, a lot of people switched to work from home. And in the beginning, it's like, oh, sick. This is amazing. I can just work in my pajamas all day. This is great. And then, a large portion of those people started to experience a bit of like confusion over like separating the workplace from your home and, your work from peace. And I've always thought that was kind of interesting. And so that's why I played with that. But really and then it's, relationship troubles and, she's planning a wedding, which is probably one of the most stressful times a person can go through. I actually, my day job is filming weddings. So I kind of get to see that firsthand, like a few times a month of people just like at the ultimate peak of their stress. And part of my job is to just be like, it's cool. It's great. It's going amazing. Like, just have fun. But yeah, anyway, all of those things combined, I just thought, how cool would it be to make like a horror movie about everyday shit just piling up and just getting to you?
Yeah, I love that. And I love how you personified every single different everyday thing in your head too, because
Yeah,
it
thank you.
really does feel like that.
Yeah, there's even stuff in the end that's like one of the guys who's banging on the car trying to get it live is like 40% off all items, use code autumn at checkout or whatever. So it's like even just like pop-ups on the internet and stuff, your phone getting to you, new friend requests, and a news reporter says 8 people are dead in a mass shooting. And it's like just all these things you see in your phone as well that are just like, okay, that's the worst thing I've ever read, and I just have to keep going about my day. It was all those things piling up.
Can I play a clip?
Yeah, please do.
Liv, why do you have a knife?
Fucking drive the car!
No, what's going on? What is wrong? What are you doing?
My boss broke into the house. He's inside. He's
What?
He's in the fucking house. He broke it through the window. I don't fucking know.
Liv, I can't do this anymore. Bottle everything up.
Oh no, how good is Jackie there? Jesus, that was so good. And I know you don't like watching your own work after it's done, so.
We got to do it.
No.
I was gonna ask that too. Like, does that bug you, or are you cool? Are you like separated from it at this point?
Oh yeah, it's more a matter of like I'm very, very hard on myself, and so every time I watch anything that I'm in, I'm like, oh, why'd I do that? But I'm actually very proud of that last scene.
I love
I like that scene. So
Love it. Yeah, no, I mean, every actor I know says the same thing. Most actors don't like watching themselves.
Yeah.
But I'm not a huge fan of watching my own stuff. After a while, because just like you, Jackie, I start to only see the flaws.
Right.
And so a little bit about that scene, actually, and Jackie remembers this. We were running late. Something happened with one of our crew members earlier that day. Nothing bad, but they had to leave. And it kind of threw our schedule threw a wrench in our schedule, and we had to reschedule, and we ended up losing a lot of time doing that. And it was no fault of theirs. I mean, they were doing this as a favor, so like it's completely all good. But that's what happens sometimes on indie sets. And so we reschedule, and we're getting through stuff in the house, and we need to go outside and do all that stuff. And by the time we're getting out there, the sun is already starting to fall, and we need to get all this stuff. So I feel so bad that all of those background actors, well, not background, they had lines, but those are all friends of mine. And then Larry as well, playing the fiance. They were there for like 4 hours before we even got to shoot, just like hanging out. They all got makeup done. We had one makeup artist, so it took a little bit to get all those actors. But then when we get to shooting, like Larry, I think he got 2 takes in his single, and that's it. We had to move on. So, and pretty much everyone, it was like, go, get it done. And that was like one of the craziest things I've directed personally. There was so many moving parts. And the fact that the sun is falling, and it's just like the light on the actors is changing by the second. It was pretty insane. And that didn't help either. So when I watch that scene, a lot of what I see is what I wish we could have done if I would have had more light.
I thought it was fun, though, because that was genuinely stressful, I think, for everyone involved.
Yeah.
But for me personally, because I have to be in this heightened state, I actually found that it helped me, like that anxiety we're losing, because you just look into the sky, and every time you look over, that sun has dipped more. And I felt like it helped me just because it was a stressful situation.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. If we were, what's up? Sorry.
I just said I look back at that day fondly.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. And you're right. If we were shooting like a quiet romantic scene, it might have messed up the performance, when people are anxious just to get their lines out. Where in this scene, it worked.
Praise be to the film gods.
Yeah, it all worked out. I actually can't believe it worked out. And that's one of my biggest regrets is like the ending. I actually love the ending. Maybe I shouldn't talk about that if people haven't seen it. But I just between us, I wish that the sun would have been higher for your driving away scene, Jackie. We barely had sun on you, and I always pictured that as like a beautiful golden hour shot, and it's a little more blue. But that's fine. That's so nitpicky stuff.
No, that's your like original vision, because like from this performance, I think the reason it's so relatable to me is like you get to a point where you fucking break on people sometimes, get the fuck out the car, right? And then he gets out the car, and now you're in his car or whatever, metaphorically, and now you're fucking crying, but now you're like, oh, thank God I can be at peace again because I'm alone.
Yeah.
And that thing is like happy and sad, it's like, damn, I can't figure it out with people, but like at least I'm fucking not in a panic attack now, so interesting to hear your perspective on what you wish you would have seen. But at the same time, visually, performance wise and visually, I feel like I captured the tone of it for what it all was meaning. But maybe that's just my interpretation of
no, 100%. I'm super happy with the end of the movie. Like the only things I'm describing are nitpicks,
I got you.
Little nitpicks. But yeah, it's and every director
It's
ever
great.
is always going to have those.
Totally, I love that. Okay, I do want to actually hear about, because you have made several productions with kind of like the same like crew, right?
Yeah. A lot of returning people.
Got you. Can you give me like the highlights or like any challenges you have in collaborating together? Maybe challenges and like how you've overcome them, because I know to keep a team together for like extended periods of time is already hard, like on one production. So like the fact that y'all did multiple productions together is really cool. But is there any like advice or stuff you have, about that?
Yeah. So for me, I feel like Jackie kind of only popped into Phantasmic with us, but she's very much a part of the crew. Everyone loves her. But like yeah, me and some friends, Larry included in that, Zach Saunders included in that. We all kind of just really, it was born out of frustration about how hard it is to make movies and how expensive it is to make movies. So we just started trying to think of like concepts that could be done for cheap, just with friends who are willing to come and, give their talents and time to the project, just to do it, to make stuff. And it's kind of the only way we've been able to, because, I have friends who, the short film costs 15, 20K. And it's like, I know in Los Angeles, it's just a lot harder to get favors from people. Everyone's there trying to put food on the table with film, and I totally understand that. Out in St. Louis, we're a market where it's like, there's a lot of great film work being done, but as far as narrative, it's fewer and further between, I feel like, and a lot of people who are, they're grinding it out, lighting commercial sets every day, or like an unscripted show that comes to town, when they would love to light something narrative and get creative. Like there's a lot of cool lighting in Phantasmic from Caleb Wieland and Noah Kiernan, who absolutely crushed. But that's like an opportunity for those guys to have fun, doing what they do and doing what they love. So that's kind of where the idea was born out of. And, at first we were going to put a name on it, and then it kind of became a thing of like, let's not even put a name on it. And, only these people are a part of it. It's like people come and go. I've had many people return to work on my sets, but I've also had new faces on every single set. But no, it's kind of just like a thing in St. Louis. And I feel like some other crews are doing it. You're right. It's a little cliquey. There's certain crews, not cliquey in a bad way. There's just different crews of people doing stuff. I know, Jackie, you have a circle.
Yeah. I've got. I feel like most of us have like a circle here and there and there, and a lot of my circle actually is down in Nashville. A lot of the people that I'm in.
Why Nashville?
I did a film down in Nashville, a feature 8 years ago. A feature, and I don't know. Me and my husband, because my husband is director, editor, producer, cinematographer. He worked on the film with me, and we just really connected with this crew, and we've just done like a ton of stuff with them since then. My core crew for Hag, my feature that I directed, was predominantly this crew from Nashville. But, I've definitely got people in the St. Louis area that I work with a lot. And like, I love Andy and his team. I'd love to do stuff with you guys again.
Yeah, I hope so, for sure. But yeah, that's really more what it is. It's just, it's the natural thing of you just, I guess to sum it up, find your people, and figure out how to make things within your means. If you have the money or you have a grant or anything, that's amazing. Go make what you want. But for us, like I said, I'm a wedding videographer. I don't have a lot of money. And a lot of us are just like, servers or whatever, baristas. Like we're all working those day jobs so that we can work towards the dream of one day making money doing film. So, none of us are wealthy. And it was just like, how can we make the shit we want to make? And we don't have the resources yet. So it is a lot of shamefully calling in favors. It is a lot of like, this person has a light, this person has a shotgun mic, this person has a camera. And that's how we did it. It's real scrappy. I think Phantasmic was about $4,500 in the end. And that's like one of my most expensive short films. Captcha was made for literally $250. I bought everyone food, and I bought the baseball bat and I autographed it myself, Mark McGuire.
Nice.
And that was the only prop that I bought for that. Other than that, it was our friend Chris Bauer's loft, who is an awesome photographer in St. Louis, at C Bauer Photo on Instagram. Check him out.
Know the guy.
And he ran sound for us. He had never run sound ever. And we just taught him really quick, like, this is how we're going to do it. And a lot of times we had the boom on a stand, so it was controlled, and he was just monitoring our, it was like an H6, I think a Zoom H6, like not an expensive sound setup, but it sounded okay. Zach owned the camera that we shot on. Zach shot it. And our friend Brendan called in a favor to Fathom Studios and got us some lights that we could use. And so it was, the whole crew was literally Zach, Brendan, and Chris Bauer, and then I was directing. And that was it. And then Ryan and Larry were acting the whole time. And yeah, we did it cheap. I mean, like at the end of the movie, Ryan is spitting up all this gnarly stuff. That was literally Zach had a bottle of molasses. He was like, I think this would work. It kind of looks like oil. So the original ending for Capture too, that not a lot of people know, but you two have seen it, and maybe people listening, maybe some have seen it. But at the end, the robot starts kind of like tweaking out, and ends up spitting all this oil up. That was a solution because in the script, he actually starts like jerking his head and sparks are like flying out of his head. And, you can hear motherboard inside his head, like sizzling and stuff. He's burning up, he's blowing up from the inside. And we were going to just stand behind him with sparklers. But we were like, I don't know how safe this is to do inside, And so our gaffer, Brendan Brooks, was like, what if he was just like spitting up oil? And I was like, that's it. That's what we have to do. And so that's one of those compromises you make sometimes when you just don't have a budget, and it's like and I'm pretty big on the best idea wins, even when I'm like the filmmaker. And it was like, I was like, yeah, that's a great solve. So let's just do that. And it works, But yeah, anyway, it just came from really, really scrappy indie filmmaking, and I'm really, really into that. And I feel like moving forward in my career, if I get to do a feature for like a few $1 million, I have that scrappy indie heart. I already know how to do that. So I don't ever think, and I hope I never will think, I'm too big to do something that's super scrappy and, like that. Because I think some filmmakers might be like, no, we're doing the spark idea. We're going to figure out how to make the money to get a VFX artist to do this the right way. And I respect that. I totally respect that. But like, I have also seen films die a slow death because, they didn't have the budget and they won't budge from what they originally wanted. And that's cool if that's your vision and you need it to be that way. I totally respect that. It's your film. But for me, it's like, I want to finish this. I want to get it done, and we just don't have money. So like, what are some ideas?
Hell yeah. Best idea wins. It gets scrappy, and just figure out a way to do it. Definitely getting it done. That's the main thing. I love that.
Totally.
Because yeah, lots of people, you're right, they don't even start, first of all, but also a lot of people exactly don't finish and just kind of leave it there.
And it's hard making movies. Like it's very, very hard. And you really have to like, there's so much strategy involved when you don't have money. I mean, even when you have money, the Marvel movies, they have to have a very good strategy on how they're going to make their $200 million movie. But yeah, it's just, I just think, yeah, don't be too big to get scrappy because sometimes you'll just never get your film made.
Gotcha. And maybe it can even make you more creative in some cases.
I definitely think so, for sure.
That's cool. And open up collaboration too. That reminds me of, so while I was in St. Louis recently, I learned about the Missouri state tax incentive. Have you guys heard of that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's $16 million for productions every year in Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
There's 8 for episodic, 8 for feature film.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. Yep. And have you ever tapped into that, or do you know anything about it?
I haven't personally, but actually, a little spoiler alert, I'm working on a feature with some producers, and they're in talks right now with the Missouri Film Office to see if we can get some money.
Super cool.
But there are stipulations, like on short films, I think you have to have a minimum budget of $50,000.
Yeah.
And that's a lot for a short film. But there was a really cool short at SLIF and the Filmmaker Showcase, produced by Jessica Ambuel, and it was called Vision. And it's like a really, really St. Louis movie. It's really cool. If you live in the city, you should definitely check it out. But they were the first short to take advantage of that tax incentive. And then I want to say the production On Fire that shot here, I think earlier this year with William H. Macy, I think they were the first feature to take advantage of that. And I think for a feature, you have to spend like at least $150K or something like that. I can't quite remember what the feature threshold is, but yeah, I'm getting familiar with it for sure. And I'm hoping that we can take advantage of that.
Super cool. Yeah, because a lot of states have that tax incentive that you can get a percentage back after you complete production, and Missouri's is really high. It's 42%. So that's honestly crazy. Like,
Mhm.
once I learned that, I was like, oh my, I need to go film in Missouri, you know?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm hoping that it'll do exactly what they're hoping, is bring more film work here. And I know I went to a little, I guess you could call it like a seminar thing for SLIF, where uh, people from the Missouri Film Office were there talking about the tax incentive, and they were saying one issue that St. Louis film community is running into is that everyone learns their trade here and they leave and they go to Atlanta or they go to Chicago or they go to LA. And totally makes sense, but like that's one of their biggest things with this, is trying to retain more people as kids graduate film school, to try to keep them here. And but also, we need to grow our infrastructure too. Like, I think what I heard right now is that we have enough gear in town, rental gear and stuff, and crew to support one feature shooting here, but probably not two at the same time.
Really?
Yeah, so and that's a thing that we just need to grow. We just didn't have productions wanting to come to Missouri, but now that we have this great incentive, hopefully we can start growing that infrastructure as well, of like, have more than one nice soundstage in town.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple post houses or whatever. But it's going to be cool. It's going to be really interesting to see where we're at in 10 years.
Yeah, and that's good to know where we're at right now to figure out where we need to go, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's really good information. I did not know that. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, for sure.
Jackie, you mostly do Nashville, but have you produced in St. Louis? And also, do you guys have any production like how to produce a film advice too?
Well, my feature I did produce in St. Louis. We had our crew that we work with from Nashville, and we've got a guy from Iowa too. They all came to St. Louis for the production, and we just put them up in an Airbnb, and they helped out for the entire month on the film. Sorry, what was the second part?
Like any producing, like how do you guys produce your films, or do you have somebody doing that for you?
No, I mean on Hag, I produced that. My husband kind of co-produced it with me, but it was pretty much just the two of us. And it's like Andy was saying. I mean, we didn't have a lot of money for Hag. We shot that feature for around 30 grand. Real low budget, and you just got scrappy. And everyone that worked on the film was paid, but it was unfortunately not what they're worth, but it was just a lot of friends that we've done favors for in the past, and people that just wanted to support our company and our vision. But yeah, man, it's just you gotta get real scrappy with it. I wrote a scene that takes place in a room like a dumbass, and as soon as I came around to producing it, I was like, well, now I've got to find this, and it was just a hospital room. We had to get it covered in fake blood.
Oh, God.
And to find this, so we knew a guy in a town called Festus outside of Missouri that owned
That's where we shot Phantasmic.
Yeah, it is where we shot Phantasmic. Right.
Cool.
And this dude owns this art gallery, and the upstairs of it, it's just like this vacant, empty space. And we approached this guy and we're like, hey man, how do you feel about us? Like, nothing's being done with this space. Can we just build something here? And he's like, I don't care what you do with it. They're going to gut this part of the building and turn it into a restaurant soon. And so he just let us take over the place. We actually built a full hospital. Well, 3/4 of a hospital set. One wall was completely unusable, but we got the hospital bed for free on Facebook Marketplace. And all the paint and the edging and all of the props that I also bought on Marketplace, most of them, we built an entire hospital room for a little less than $500.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool. I'm really proud of it because I'm going to add a lot of production value to the film, and it's such a huge ask when, I mean, it's a hospital room, but also the way that I write is just everything's going to be covered in blood And
Yeah.
like,
Right.
where are we gonna find someone that's gonna be like, yeah, you can destroy our hospital room? So that
Right.
was pretty cool. And it's just a lot of stuff like that. We shot the whole film, not the whole film, but the character that I play in the film, her apartment, it's just the apartment that me and my husband live in. So the whole apartment was set for like 2 months. And you just live in this hot set, and it sucks because there's just people in your house all the time. But that's what you've got to do because you can't afford locations, so you
Mhm.
make them for as cheap as possible. So that's that. As I've produced several really low budget feature films, and that's just the nature of it. Is like, and also like, and I made this mistake on Hag writing a hospital set, but I think it's really wise to write in a way, write around what you have available to you.
Yep.
Oh, and then if
Mhm.
you've got these locations or these props that are really interesting, me and my husband call them three-legged dogs. Like you're not gonna find this if you look for it. It just happened to
Uh,
Oh,
so
wow.
we've got to write this in some way, and it'll just
mhm.
add a lot of times a layer of surrealism to something when you just have this really obscure resource. So just writing in what you have, I think, is like a really great tool for people doing this without a lot of money.
Dude, I love that. I'm gonna remember the three-legged dog thing.
Like,
There we go.
yeah, I-
Three-legged dog pictures is not a bad production company either.
That's sick.
That's
It's a
pretty
pretty good
good.
name. Yeah, I'm and with producing too, like I'm like Jackie, everything I do is scrappy. But I produce most of my work. Sometimes I have people co-producing with me for sure, but like I'm just like a bit of a control freak, I think, when it's my thing. And I have trouble sometimes like sitting around and waiting, so I'm just like I'll just do it. And that's a lot of how I operate. The feature that I'm hopefully going to get to direct here soon, I do have some producers who've done some pretty cool, significant things helping me. So I'm not producing that one. I don't think they would want me to, but I'm really getting a front row seat to how they're doing this and trying to make it like a pretty like just far bigger than anything I've done, you know, and it's just cool to see what goes into that. But yeah, it's really producing is probably the hardest part of filmmaking. Period. Is just getting everything going, and it's just a lot of logistics, but it's necessary. Like making the movie is the fun part,
Yeah.
and then
Cool.
post production isn't as fun either. It's cool because you get to see it coming together, but
Yeah.
but that can be stressful too. It's just a lot of just trying to keep this train moving, and it's tough, especially when you're like me and you're calling in favors, because like I just understand if anyone else has, my friend Joe Stockton has helped us with post-production sound on a lot of my shorts, and he runs a post house in Louisville called Post 237. So if you're in or around Louisville or even anywhere in the country, I guess, hit them up because they're great and they do great work. But he's helped me out a lot, and he does it for crazy cheap, or sometimes he's just like, I'll just do it. And but I always understand, like you have to take care of all of your clients who are actually like paying you your legitimate rate and stuff first. Like I'm an afterthought, and you have to understand that when you're getting favors. And I think being pushy in that situation would be insane. So it's like, yeah, you're kind of at the mercy of other people sometimes, but it is what it is, anything to get the movie made.
Love that. Cool. Well, you guys, this has been amazing. I want to have you guys back whenever when Hag comes out and when this mysterious feature film Andy comes out too.
You are
Yeah,
being
cool.
serious, man.
I don't
Yeah.
know what I'm allowed to say at
Well,
this point. I don't think there's a lot I can say.
No.
All I can say is it is a script I wrote called Bellyache, and it is about an alcoholic lunch lady who gets fired for giving a poor student free meals. And a journalist in town writes a blog about it, and it goes viral overnight. And this alcoholic lunch lady, who's very rough around the edges, is thrust into the spotlight until a secret from her past comes out, and it leaks, and it gets really messy, and her life goes into a tailspin. Yeah, and it's got a couple really cool actresses attached and a couple really cool producers attached, and I'm hoping that it happens soon. But it's like a funny and dramatic movie, kind of like a Little Miss Sunshine type deal.
Love that.
My name is Jackie Kelly, and I'm an actress, writer, director, producer in St. Louis, Missouri. And my upcoming directorial feature debut, Hag, will hopefully be premiering sometime in 2025.
Yay! I'm Andy Compton. I'm a writer, director, producer in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm at Andy Compton _ on most things, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube, which you should check out my YouTube. That's where all my short films are. And subscribe, like, all that stupid shit. And I have another short, a comedy called Us Plus One that was made for very, very cheap in our friend Zach's apartment. And it's coming out early January. So subscribe to my YouTube and you'll be one of the first people to see it. And then this feature, who knows? We're trying.
Hey, I'm Megan Tully. Thank you for watching the Is There More podcast with Andy Compton and Jackie Kelly. And we look forward to seeing you back again soon.
Ooh.